Joe Biden's approval rating continues to sink to new record lows, notably among independents, where his current approval rating sits at just 26%, according to Civics. Now, that is abysmal. Several other studies have come out showing that the American people think Joe Biden is not fit to be president, nor is he mentally stable enough to do the job. And now we're getting this story from Newsweek. Joe Biden town hall, 5 strange moments you might have missed. Why might you have missed them? Did you not watch the Joe Biden town hall on CNN? Okay, yeah, you probably didn't. I'd assume most people didn't. But if you did, there's no way you would have missed the absolute insanity that occurred. Now, the most notable moment probably is when Joe Biden donned what people are calling the imaginary jetpack. Other people have been tweeting about Cornholio from Beavis and Butthead. It was this strange moment. For about half a minute, Joe Biden has his arms like this at a 90-degree angle, fists clenched, and no one understands what he's doing or why he's doing it. It was a very strange thing to see, and it has many people worried that Joe Biden's cognitive faculties are rapidly in decline. But Newsweek points out 4 other moments. One of these moments, Joe Biden said that the U.S. will defend Taiwan if China invades. Okay, that seems to be containing some lucidity, I suppose. It's a direct statement. Well, the White House had to issue a correction saying, wait a minute, we don't want to go to war with China. Joe Biden's approval rating is crashing. The inflation rates are through the roof. Jen Psaki is saying it's a good thing. The American people are worried about rising gas prices. In one California town, gas hit $7.59 a gallon. Joe Biden is spiraling, and it's getting bad. Yet there are people who watched this town hall, and they're like, if only conservatives actually watched this, they'd see a man who is at the top of his game, who is sharp as a tack. No. Newsweek says otherwise, and Newsweek is far from conservative. But what about the upcoming elections? Will this translate to a stunning Democrat defeat? And what about 2024? Will Donald Trump take this country by storm? It's starting to look that way, at least. You see, Joe Biden's approval ratings in the gutter. There's historically supposed to be some kind of red wave in the president's first term. People get soured on it and they vote for the opposition party. But with 2024 around the corner, it looks like Donald Trump is going to be running. We recently interviewed Sean Spicer on Timcast IRL, and he said Donald Trump is running. In his opinion, he's not working with Trump, but he's like, Trump's running. He's doing these rallies. Trump has now announced Truth Social, his new social media website, and Donald Trump's associated SPAC, DWAC, is up something like 1,300% overnight, multiple halts. But people have gotten very rich off of Trump's new technology and media SPAC. It's a special acquisitions company or whatever it means, and it's meant to fund this new enterprise. Donald Trump seems to be particularly popular. He's always been. But I mean, right now, you'd think people would be like, I'm not going to bet on that horse. People are betting on that horse, and they're betting big. And a 10x times return, that's massive. Let's take a look at Joe Biden's imaginary jetpack. And you got to understand how weird this looks. And some of the other things he said that are causing people to be kind of worried. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com, become a member, and you'll get access to exclusive members-only segment from the Timcast IRL podcast, as well as all our other shows, and you'll be helping fund all of our journalists and our other content as we expand and seek to build culture and challenge the lies from the establishment. But don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, share this video right now on all your social media if you really want to help. It's very important. Let's get into that story with Joe Biden. Newsweek says, Joe Biden town hall, 5 strange moments you might have missed. And of course, coming in at number 1 is the imaginary jetpack. At a town hall in July, Biden suggested recent price rises were only near-time inflation. Last week, economists told the Wall Street Journal that high inflation was likely to remain into 2022. And Cooper asked Biden whether or not he agreed. In the near 20 seconds that it took for the host to tee up the question, Biden held his forearms out with his elbows at right angles and fists clenched. Let me just show you this video. There he is. What's he doing? Now, a lot of people have made the joke about, I think, Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands or whatever. He's just standing there like Cornholio from Beavis and Butthead. Now, to give you a better photo of this, here's an image I posted on Twitter that's been going viral. It is Joe Biden standing there with his arms up, right angles, fists clenched in a very strange position. And people have put Beavis's head, in Beavis and Butthead, if you really aren't familiar with this, Beavis would pull his shirt up over his head, put his hands down and say he was the great Cornholio and he needs teepee for his bunghole. So I tweeted, whoever did this should be ashamed. How disrespectful to our president. And look, I'm not here to make fun of a guy who's got very serious mental dysfunction. I think that's what we're seeing with, Joe standing there in this really awful or strange position. It may seem silly, but I think we have to start considering it. These signs, they are grains of sand in a heap. And that heap is starting to pile up, right? You know the saying, how many grains of sand make a heap? And the idea is you take one grain of sand, you put it on the ground, you have a heap, of course not. But eventually you will, and you'll say, at what point? We don't know. It's nuanced, right? Joe Biden can slur. True to not a pressure. Better calf care. Yeah, he said a lot of crazy things. And once or twice, and you say, wow, that was weird. Falling up the stairs when he was trying to get on the plane. And now this. How many grains of sand until you have a heap labeled mentally unfit? Newsweek says several viewers on Twitter said it looked like the president was holding an imaginary jetpack. In answer to Cooper's question, Biden said he did not think high inflation would last unless we don't make these investments. He added that he expected gas prices to come down into next year, 2022, which makes absolutely no sense. My friends, it's going to get worse. And I got the stories to back it up. 2, don't pay a cent. Biden was also asked about the possibility of tax rises for the wealthy. The president's answer focused on corporations, telling them he hoped they made fortunes, but to at least pay your fair share, chip in a little bit. You have 55 corporations, for example, in the United States of America making over $40 billion. Don't pay a cent. Not a single little red cent, which is a lie. What does he mean? Maybe he's saying income tax. They don't pay corporate income tax. And that is if a business reinvests the money elsewhere and then writes it down or writes a loss or gets tax incentives, they won't pay an income tax, but they're paying employment tax. They're paying property taxes. They're paying taxes across the board. Typically, my investigations into stories that corporations don't pay taxes have proven that it's not true. They never get specific on what they mean by taxes. It is true that a lot of wealthy elites and corporations aren't paying relative to the amount of money they have. However, the bulk of taxes are paid by the wealthy. It is a nuanced issue. A lot of people on the right will say, like, look, poor people don't, it's a net deficit. Poor people don't pay as much as they take. My attitude is kind of like, that's kind of a good thing. It is. I certainly think people who are more well off can easily afford to pay more. I just think the problem is giving the money to the government doesn't solve anything. So I don't know how you actually solve for this problem, but I can say the idea of just taxing people and taking from them doesn't seem to be solving anything. Maybe we need to work out something else. It's not about left or right. It's about solutions that work. As Biden whispered, "Don't pay a cent," he made a circle with his index finger and thumb and held it up to his eye. It's far from the first time the president has used whispering for dramatic effect. I wouldn't call it that. Apparently he made a comment about racing Colin Powell. He had a brand new Corvette. We raced. Well, I won only because he was worried I was going to crash into him. Yeah, I'd be worried too that Joe Biden would crash into me, that I get. Here's a big story. Biden misspeaks on Taiwan. Biden was asked by an audience member about recent reports of China testing hypersonic missiles. The president said the U.S. has the most powerful military in the history of the world, adding that his concern was whether or not they're going to engage in activities that will put them in a position where they may make a serious mistake. Biden was then asked by Cooper, "Are you saying that the U.S. would come to Taiwan's defense if China's attacked?" The president replied, yes. Yes, we have a commitment to do that. The U.S. is legally required to provide Taiwan with resources to defend itself, but has long pursued a policy of so-called strategic ambiguity on the question of intervening militarily in the event of a Chinese attack. The White House was quick to clarify that the president was not announcing any change in our policy. Sorry, you can't keep doing this. This is the issue, okay? Joe Biden will say something and someone else somewhere will say, actually, he was wrong and we take that back. The president is Joe Biden, not whoever these spokespeople are. It makes you wonder who's really in control, I suppose. How many times now have we seen a story where Biden would say something and then immediately a statement would be released walking it back, creating two conflicting news stories as one says X, the other says Y. Here we go. Biden forgets the name of Long Beach port. I'm not familiar. I think it's the San Pedro port, right? Biden also discussed supply chain woes. 40% of all products coming into the United States of America on the West Coast go through Los Angeles. And what am I doing here? Whoa! What am I doing here? Cooper interjected. Is it Long Beach? Long Beach. Thank you. Is it Long Beach? I'm pretty sure it's Long Beach, but I know that the San Pedro port, look, I'll put it this way. If Biden doesn't know it, that's fine. But, he should. You know what I mean? I'm not going to blame you or anybody else for not knowing the name of the port. Biden previously announced the White House has reached an agreement with America's two largest ports, the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach, to transition to a 24/7 schedule to ease the logjam, which isn't doing anything. Because Biden is as dumb as a box of rocks. The problem is shipping containers. Nobody wants to take empty containers. Truckers can't get them out, and they're blocking the streets, just dumping them in the streets. But Joe Biden apparently doesn't know that. They say the port at Long Beach, California handles about 78 million tons of cargo worth about $180 billion every year. Look at this. 40% goes through Los Angeles. And what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Joe, you're on stage for a CNN town hall. Did you forget? Man, I lose my train of thought sometimes trying to wrangle. I'll be on Timcast IRL. It's happened maybe a dozen times over the shows, over the year, plus, almost 2 years now we've been doing the show. And I got all these people talking. And I'll be like, we need to get a segue in. And then just the other day, it happened to me. It happens to the best of us. We were talking about, it was a story from, it was about Fauci and the NIH. And what I wanted to say was that the headline for the Daily Mail was talking about Brian Laundrie. And I'm like, the story doesn't matter. And the story really didn't matter. And I was like, I'm reading it and I'm like, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, that other story that no one cares about. See, if it happened once or twice, you'd be like, it happens to everybody. You ever get up, walk into another room and then forget why you walked in there? These things happen all the time. I get this all the time. I'll be like, oh, I've got to, pay my credit card bill. And I'll pick up my phone and open it. And then I'll get a notification for something. And I'll be like, oh, I've got to address that. And then I'll be like, wait, what did I pick up my phone for? Man, that distracted me. Oh, yeah, credit card. Joe Biden saying, what am I doing here? If it was just once, I'd say fine. It's worse than that. And worse than all of this is Joe Biden's just his rhetoric in general. Take a look at this story from timcast.com. Biden mocks people who support medical freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. Okay, that's bad. President Joe Biden mocked people who want medical freedom by implying that they are killers during the CNN presidential town hall on Thursday. Biden's remarks came after town hall host Anderson Cooper asked him about the first responders who are being fired for refusing to get vaccinated against their will. Cooper asked Biden if he thought the workers should be encouraged to stay home or fired. Biden answered affirmatively to both. Quote, so the idea is that, look, two things that concern me. One are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, come on, freedom, Biden said, imitating someone who opposes vaccine mandates. Biden also addressed the death of Colin Powell, who was fully vaccinated but died from COVID-related complications. Number one. Number two, the second one is that, the gross misinformation that's out there. Like what they're saying about my buddy Colin Powell. He was my friend, passed away. Colin Powell was vaccinated and he still died. Well, he knew he had serious underlying conditions and it would be difficult. He clearly would have been gone earlier had he not gotten the vaccine, had he not gotten the shots. But my generic point is there's so much misinformation. Biden was fact-checked by the AP over claims he has made about his record with the COVID vaccine during the town hall. Quote, when I was first elected, there were only 2 million people who had COVID shots in the U.S. Now we got 190 million because I went out and bought everything I could do and buy in sight, and it worked. The AP reported this was incorrect, as nearly 16 million doses had been administered by January 20th, the day Biden took office. And Biden didn't buy up all the doses. The Trump administration has purchased 300 million doses of the vaccine from Pfizer and Moderna in December, weeks before Biden was inaugurated. Now, I want to address one thing. If you want to get the vaccine, by all means, go talk to your doctor, figure out what's right for you. But when a lot of people come out and say the vaccine mandates, what about the other mandates we've had? We've long had a mandate for this, that, or otherwise. And I'm like, no, we didn't. We literally don't. Oh, you mean for like kids going to school? Sure. But you have no obligation to put your kid in those public schools. You bring them somewhere else or homeschool them. You can just do that. Now, what if you want to go buy a cheeseburger at a restaurant? When have we ever implemented mandatory medical ID checks? I mean, maybe 100 years ago for like the pandemics of the time. But I'm not going to believe that this is going to be a temporary thing. Regardless, Joe Biden's attitude here is particularly worrisome because he seems to have disdain for many Americans, maybe not the majority, maybe just a large group, but either way, he's certainly not a unifying force. When he says things like this and you know people are hesitant or worried, he is absolutely not doing everything in his power to compromise and bring this country together. And it's reflecting. The people know it. From timcast.com, over 80% of voters are worried about gas prices and inflation. An extreme majority of voters are worried about the rising cost of gas and widespread inflation taking place in the U.S., according to a poll conducted by Beacon Research and Shaw & Company. The poll found that 84% of respondents are worried about their families dealing with the rising gas prices. Almost everyone, 94%, think the gas price increase is a problem for the country's economy. Additionally, the poll found that President Joe Biden's ratings on the economy are down, dropping 11 points even among Democrats. Quote, 73% of voters, the highest since May 2020, rate the economy negatively, and nearly 3 times as many are falling behind as getting ahead financially. The 39% who are falling behind is up from 27% in June. The report also noted that overall majorities of voters report empty store shelves and slower delivery times in the past month. Oh, definitely. We've had to get stuff shipped out here overnight, and it's been like 2 or 3 days. Trucker shortage. 83% say their grocery costs have increased, including 43% who say prices are up a lot. Biden's declining ratings on the company must be a major concern for the White House, said Republican pollster Darren Shaw, who conducts the Fox News poll with Democrat Chris Anderson. Historically bad economic news spells trouble for the incumbent party in the midterms. Gas prices are at a 7-year high, with one California town reaching a whopping $7.59 per gallon. Bravo to the people of California for voting for Newsom and voting for Biden. You know what? You deserve it. Now, I'm not happy the prices are that high, but you choose to live in these places. This week, at your average American gas station, you'll likely find prices in the $3.50 range for 1 gallon of gas. If you're in rural California along the Big Sur coastline, it could be more than double. In Gorda, for instance, one gas station is charging $7.59 per gallon. Premium, $8.50 a gallon. Even if you're filling up a car with a relatively small tank, that could be $75 for just 10 gallons. It's not just you. Gas prices are at a 7-year high, according to federal data. Though there are some clear reasons for this that are particular to this moment in time, such as the ongoing effects of the global pandemic. Gas prices are the result of a variety of complex factors. The cartel of oil exporters that control the oil market, for instance, has a huge amount of influence over prices. Blah, 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 blah. Joe Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Joe Biden has taken away American energy independence. Blame him. Shutting down the supply and the construction of, the Keystone Pipeline, for instance, is resulting in speculation driving up prices. People are predicting there will be a supply crunch. They're not wrong, driving up prices. Speculators then get involved, thinking the prices will go up, causing them to go up even more. Bravo, Biden. Let's take a look. Take a look at this from timcast.com. Inflation is forcing 29% of Americans to miss meals, eat less due to high prices, store shelves empty due to supply chain issues. Quote, there is no shortage of crises today. We're on the verge of so many disruptions environmentally, politically, and economically that it's hard to keep track. While we struggle to get COVID under control, clear supply chains, control energy costs, and fill millions of open jobs, there's another crisis lurking in the shadows that might be affecting more people than once thought, writes Zogby. Double-digit surges in prices of basics have forced about almost 30% to miss meals. How do you think this is going to result in politics? Here's a quote. Food insecurity is becoming increasingly too familiar these days. As the gap between the haves and have-nots widen, more and more Americans are finding it harder to meet ends daily. Economists and advocacy groups are sounding the alarm bells as food insecurity is on the rise in the U.S. To compound matters, rising food prices are not helping the situation. Families are missing meals because their paychecks do not go as far as they once did a few years ago. The middle class is being hollowed out by inflation. We asked voters if they felt the Biden administration's failure to control inflation had caused them or family members to miss meals because of the increased cost of food prices, and the results were shocking. It is Joe Biden's fault. We can see it here. Biden approval rating slips to 41% poll. The CNBC survey released Thursday found that the president 11 points underwater, with 52% of Americans saying they disapprove of Biden's performance in the White House so far, with just 40% of Americans saying they approve of his handling of the economy. Thursday's poll surveyed 800 Americans, on the small side for a sample, has a margin of error of 3.5 points, showed Biden's overall approval rating down 7 points from July. Americans' concerns over the economy, inflation, and supply chain disruptions are rising, which brings me to civics, where we can break things down a little bit more. Among independent voters, the question is, do you approve or disapprove of the way Joe Biden is handling his job as president? 63% disapprove, 26% approve, 11% neither approve nor disapprove. Now, the Republicans, obvious. Among Republicans, it's been fairly consistent. 95% disapproval, 3% approval. Among Democrats, 80% approval. But this is significant. Since Afghanistan, Joe Biden has dropped by 5 points. Since he came into office, he is down 10 points among Democrats. That one is big. Even Democrats are starting to sour a little bit. We know Republicans are. Independents, we can see. Many of these Democrats are just saying, you know what, I can't do it. So will it be a Donald Trump 2024? I kind of think so. From Newsweek, Donald Trump's Truth Social hints at timeline of 2024 run. I think Donald Trump knows that he will need a strong social media presence if he's going to run. And maybe the reason he waited is so that he could have the maximum impact with launching his own platform where he cannot be banned. Will Truth Social work? Yes, it absolutely will. The media is addicted to Trump. The reply guys are addicted to Trump. They built careers off ragging on him. When Donald Trump launches Truth Social, which appears to just be a fork of the Mastodon free software, journalists will have no choice but to follow him there. The news outlets are going to say, sign up, follow him. We need to know what he's saying. And that will force journalists to join Trump's platform, where he then is in control. I don't know if that's a good thing, because maybe he'll be as censorious as Twitter is. But it is good in the sense that it creates some market competition for the big tech companies. And it's going to be impossible for them to do anything about. They can't ignore it. I said the same thing about Trump during his presidency, that if he got on Minds.com and posted there, that journalists would be forced to go there and follow him. And they would be forced to prop up this platform. Well, Trump says he's going to do it himself. Newsweek says, former President Trump unveiled his new social platform on Wednesday after his longstanding criticism of big tech. We know this. The former president was an avid user of social media. Everybody knows. He has also repeatedly hinted that he'll run for the White House in 2024. A Truth Social beta will be launched in November ahead of the rollout in the first quarter of next year, a few months before the critical 2022 midterm. Newsweek asked experts if Truth Social could give any indications about Trump's timeline for a third run at the Oval Office. Quote, it's no secret that Trump is still stewing over his Twitter ban, and it's hardly a surprise that he would dive headfirst into creating his own social media platform, said Thomas Gift, founding director of University College London Center on U.S. Politics. For Trump, it's an opportunity to stick it to big tech, to give MAGA supporters unfiltered access to his thoughts, and to recreate the kind of megaphone that made him successful in 2016. Although it's likely the launch of Truth Social is another tell that Trump intends to run 2024 and may even give some insight into his planned timeline, there's still every reason to think Trump is in no rush to jump into the fray. Quote, the longer Trump waits to declare, the more suspense he can generate around his presidential bid, and the more he can freeze out other would-be GOP contenders. Paul Quirk, a political scientist at the University of British Columbia, told Newsweek the former president had reasons for creating social media other than a presidential bid. Trump has several reasons for trying to create a platform. He hopes it will make money directly. I'm not entirely convinced it will, but let's talk about the results, the popularity. Do people like Donald Trump still to this day? Trump's SPAC halted multiple times as stock jumps again in volatile trading. Yes. Yep. People are buying this up like hotcakes. I never understood that phrase. What is hotcakes? Like people were buying pancakes a lot? Is that where the phrase came from? I guess, whatever. CNBC reports Digital World Acquisition Corp, the SPAC that is taking former President Donald Trump's planned social media platform public, soared Friday following a massive rally in the previous session. Trading in the stock was halted due to volatility multiple times in morning trading Friday. The SPAC, which trades under the ticker DWAC, on the NASDAQ skyrocketed 216% at one point and last traded up 150%. The stock surged more than 350% to close Thursday. I'm pretty sure as of right now, it's nearly 980%. They say Funware, the advertising software startup involved with Trump's 2020 re-election campaign, jumped in unison with DWAC. Okay, they're up 1,000. The stock last traded up a whopping 624%, bringing its week-to-date rally 980. SPAC stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company, which raises money on the public markets with the goal of merging with a private company and taking it public within 2 years. Investors typically have no clue what the target company will be when the SPAC debuts and trades on the stock exchange. Signs emerged that small-time retail investors could be behind the monstrous rally in the SPAC. On Thursday, DWAC, the single most actively traded stock on Fidelity's brokerage platform, was the most active. Meanwhile, the ticker was among the most popular mentions on Reddit's Wall Street Bets. The SPAC was also a trending topic on Twitter, which indicated that DWAC could be having a meme stock moment like GameStop and AMC. One top post on the Wall Street Bets message board Friday morning featured what appeared to be the user's equity portfolio, touting daily gains of over $10,000 from betting on the SPAC. The post, which called the former president Daddy Trump, quickly drew more than 800 comments. Someone actually posted they tried to short the DWAC, and they were down something like, what was it, like $1 million? I think. I could be wrong, but I thought it was like a massive negative, like $800,000. The new company is the yet-to-be-launched Trump Media and Technology Group said its mission is to create a rival to the liberal media consortium and fight back against big tech companies of Silicon Valley, which have used their unilateral power to silence opposing voices in America. The move came after Trump got banned by social media giants Twitter, Facebook. This we all understand. My friends, I'm not going to be betting on Donald Trump's platform. I'll use it for sure. It will work, absolutely. I don't know about his plans for this DWAC. People are sharing images they claim comes from the pitch deck of the Trump Media and Technology Group. They plan to unify all of like this conservative alternative media space. I just don't see that happening. Donald Trump made way too many mistakes in digital media. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And as much as he had some good people around him who gave him some good advice, they missed the big picture and by a long shot. Seriously. He could have joined Parler. He could have had a bigger impact. Perhaps what happened was Donald Trump was like, why should I give someone else the money when I can do it myself? And they said, it's going to take a long time to launch something like this. So I don't know exactly why Trump missed the boat. Maybe it was for, so that he could launch his own, strategically placed for his next election cycle. But it's more than that. It's that Republicans just don't know how to deal with this stuff. They sit in Congress and they do these questions of Jack Dorsey and Zuckerberg, and it's a waste of everyone's time. And we all know it. But I'm confident that we can make a difference. At least, I take charge myself. Now, I got tremendous respect for Trump for actually, taking this thing, taking it off the ground and trying to launch a new platform. It's a good thing across the board. But I'm not going to sit here and just say maybe someone else will solve the problems for me. So that's what we're doing. Timcast.com. We got new shows where we've got a nonprofit that we're focusing on building out technology using a similar protocol that Donald Trump is using. He's using the Mastodon software, which operates on the Fediverse. So it allows all these different social networks to connect to each other. And we're heavily investing. I shouldn't say investing. It's a nonprofit. We don't expect to get a massive return. We want to build tech and give it away for free. Crazy idea, right? It's almost like not a particularly right-wing thing to do. Yeah. Where's the left? It's amazing, isn't it? I'm sitting here like, hey, we're going to make free software to empower working class people. The left is like, that's right wing. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Free software, open source code, all that stuff. Nice try. We're going to create culture. We're going to create content, and everyone else needs to do it too. I look at what's going on in the big tech space, and I see a lot of people trying to solve this problem, but I just see them doing it wrong or just trying to empower themselves. The new company that will make money, we need a paradigm shift. We need a system where you can never be banned again. Perhaps blockchain-based, immutable ledgers that you can't be removed from. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good thing. But our goal is to create a network where you can have your own subscription service website with all the software baked in, free of charge. You can just press go and boom. You don't need to use Patreon or any other subscription service. You have your own. You got to pay your own hosting costs, but at least you don't got to give anybody a cut of your money. In the end, I hope something like that will help foster competition in the media market. That we won't just get CNN lying about Joe Rogan and being told we must believe it. We won't have YouTube putting their boot on the neck of every creator. YouTube can allow explicit adult content, but you say a naughty word and they pull you, have the wrong political opinion, they'll take you out. We got to do something about it. Donald Trump is. So again, good thing across the board. But I don't see him being this central figure or force in this universe. The Daily Wire, maybe, they are, wow, expanding like crazy. Mad respect to the crew over the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro. If we are going to challenge the establishment, we need to be cultural. We need to make fun stuff. Now, this channel that I produce here, it's almost exclusively critical, and we don't do, right? That's why we made the Cast Castle vlog, where we do stuff. That's why we have Tales from the Inverted World. We're now making a new pop culture show where we're going to talk about video games, movies, celebrities, and it's going to be from a freedom perspective. So expect a lot of critique of the woke authoritarianism. As for Joe Biden, he is an anti-candidate. Joe Biden won because people voted against Trump, and we can see it in his Cornholio stance. He ain't there, my friends. Something's got to change. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all then.